What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing today? Today, I'm going to be talking about episode 2 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. So, without any further ado, let's get this started and stuff. This was a 52-minute episode. It had little to do with the previous episode, so this series is episodic now. And the mission for this particular episode is they go to a planet. They go to a planet called Persephone 3, and they have to they're basically trying to figure out how to get a comet to not crash into the planet and stuff. So there's a comet that's set on course for the planet, and they need to figure out how to save the people because there's like millions of indigenous pre-warp species on this planet and stuff. So we see yeah, it's a very arid planet, and well, we could I could tell that the aliens look very alien, Kurtzman style, new Trek and stuff, that type of look. Um so here we begin with a captain's log, or not a captain's log, a cadet's log. This episode is a very Uhura centric episode. So I guess in another way of returning to form, this episode's really focusing on a particular character. And in this case, this character is, Nyota Uhura, classic Uhura and stuff. But this is the new Uhura, so we'll see how this turns out and stuff. Took plenty of notes, so let's get going. So, first thing that we see, Uhura's doing a cadet's log. She's been, we find out she's been shifting from department to department, and she gets an invite to the captain's quarters for dinner. And apparently, she's not the only one in this at this dinner. Apparently, all the senior staff are at this dinner. So Spock is there. The new engineer Anar guy. The Anars, they're the albino blind Andorians from that moon stuff. It's an Enterprise thing. I have to rewatch Enterprise and stuff. But so Anar guy is there. And of course, before that, this Ortegas, the pilot, the helmswoman, I mean, she tells, she kind of tells Uhura to wear dress uniform for this occasion. But then you see Ortegas wearing, like, what does she wear? She's got a bare midriff. She's wearing sweatpants and really ugly gym shoes. So there we go. So we have here's the thing. I mean, going to a captain's dinner and stuff. I mean, it was really first shown in Enterprise, and you'd think, you want to be respectful enough to go when you're seeing the captain to, wear your best and stuff. I mean, the captain's not your friend. The captain is your captain and stuff. And one issue I have with New Trek in general is that, the captain is a little too informal. There's a lot of informalities in these shows, and at the same time, characters that are under the rank are speaking out of turn, and you see that quite a bit in this episode. And Uhura is once again not an exception to that. And the speaking out of turn thing gets on my nerves because a lot of the times in old Trek, if you spoke out of turn, you get in a lot of trouble. Lieutenant Styles in Balance of Terror, he spoke out of turn. He said something. He's like, "Give it to Spock." And then Kirk pulls him around. He's like, "Oh, what was that?" I suspect you were telling Spock, Spock's ability to decode. He's like, "I'm not sure." Well, here's one thing you can be sure of: leave any bigotry in your quarters. There's no room for it on the bridge. Do I make myself clear? And then Cisco did something similar to Bashir. Bashir kind of spoke out of turn to a communication with Dukat in the episode Cardassians, where Bashir was asking about why this young Cardassian boy is worth the trouble and stuff. Why are you guys so interested in stuff? And Cisco just like, don't do it again. So hey, so we have this speaking out of turn type of thing that's pretty rampant in this episode. So here is, and I wrote down most of the instances, like quote for quote and stuff. So bear with me. So apparently there's hazing in Starfleet now. Apparently, I mean, it was never a thing for 735 episodes, and even the earlier new Trek shows didn't even really do this. So Uhura is basically, oh, this is hazing and stuff, and with Ortega's telling her that, to dress informally when she didn't, or dress formally when she didn't. And then she says she's in the cabin. It's a very nice cabin. Captain Pike's cabin is very nice. It's like a freaking, like, it's like a big, massive living room. It's got a nice kitchen and stuff, like a chef's kitchen. And the Anar guy is like cutting. He's the chef. The Anar guy is the chef and stuff. He's blind, but he's still, using a knife. He's cutting stuff. He's making stuff. And Uhura decides to be polite and say, "Hey, do you need any help?" And the Anar guy gets offended. It's like, "What? Is it because, what, you think I can't do it because I'm impaired and stuff?" And I just kind of like, whatever. I just kind of rolled my eyes at that. And then Spock is basically, "Hey, like he's like, oh, you offended him." And the Anar guy's like, "Oh, I might not be able to see, but all my other senses are superior and stuff. So, whatever." So the Anar guy is actually like I said earlier, the Anar guy is the new chief engineer. And I'll just say this episode was a chore to get through. I mean, there were some decent aspects. I'm not going to be, there were some things, credit where credit's due and stuff, but just taking notes for this episode was very tiresome for me. So, this was another hazing thing. Then, so yeah, so they're at the dinner table, and Pike's basically telling a story. He's telling a story about how when he was a cadet, he was part of the security detail for whatever assignment he was on, and he was chasing a naked Nausicaan. And as he was chasing this naked Nausicaan, remember the Nausicaans from Star Trek: The Next Generation, the ones that take a blade and stab, Cadet Picard in the heart and stuff, and he had to get a new heart because of that? Those Nausicans. Well, the Pike trips on the clothes, the pants of the Nausicaan, and his superiors like, "Maybe you're not cut out for security and stuff." And then they all had a laugh and stuff. And and let's just say Spock is like, Spock questions why everybody's laughing at, Pike's misfortune and stuff. And of course, they say in this episode, and this is a thing that they say throughout the episode, they basically say, "Hey, sometimes you just gotta laugh and stuff, especially through the worst of times." I was like, "Oh, okay, whatever." And then there's a nice little conversation between Uhura and Pike. So Uhura is, humming a tune because, Uhura sings. At least Nichelle Nichols' Uhura, was a singer. Nichelle Nichols is, famous world-class singer and stuff. And so Uhura's humming a tune. Now we find out a little bit about Uhura'S history. Uhura is from Kenya. And we learned that she does not really, let's just say, yeah, Pike says he's been to where she lived, Lake Simbi Niema, and it's a few miles away from her village. And we learn, Pike's like, "Oh, I heard you speak 12 languages." "Oh, no, actually, I speak 37 languages. 22 of those are Kenyan languages that I had to learn growing up and stuff." So, okay, whatever. So we have that. And let's just say he asks her a typical, question that, superiors ask, typical interview question. He asks, something simple like, "Where do you see yourself in 10 years?" And then her response is like, "What?" She's like, "What? Are you asking what I want to be when I grow up?" I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Who's writing this?" She literally says, "What, are you asking me what I want to be when I grow up?" No, he asks you what your career goals are. You stupid, young girl, you stupid sweet little girl and stuff. So hey, so she says something dumb, and then we find out a little bit about her past. Like, she's like, "Oh, I'm not sure I'm Starfleet material," even though she's in Starfleet. And she's like, "Oh, I was planning to go to the University of Nairobi, and well, my parents got killed in a shuttle accident. My parents and my brother got killed in the shuttle accident." So, like Juan in the last episode, we learn that Uhura has a darker backstory. She is, she dealt with, she has another traumatic backstory because that's basically what New Trek is now. Almost every character has to have a traumatic backstory because that's what they think will make characters interesting. Not necessarily. I mean, the old Trek they didn't have to do that, and they still made the characters interesting regardless. So this is just another attempt at playing, sympathy and stuff. So hey, that's just how it is. So here is, you know, well, here's to Uhura's parents. We didn't know about until now. So, but apparently she moved in with her grandmother after the accident happened, and her grandmother had a history when she was younger. She was in Starfleet, so hence Uhura just couldn't stay because University of Nairobi was also where both of her parents taught. They were both instructors there. So that's why she didn't go to University of Nairobi. That's why she kind of ran away to Starfleet, partially because of her grandmother's history, legacy, and she just couldn't be on Earth because of, this tragedy that befell her. So so I figure, and Pike's like, "Oh, I totally understand." And it was interesting that he didn't know about that because you would figure the captain of the ship that you're on, read the personnel of all the people that's on board. So that's I'm kind of like, why doesn't he know this and stuff? So because he acted surprised when she told him that. So I don't know. So we get another scene with Uhura and Spock. They're out in the corridor, and she feels like, oh, she blew the dinner with her stuff. And Spock says, "Hey, we still appreciate your honesty despite that." And he does comment. This is one thing I did like that Spock does do. So Spock, in my opinion, was the best character in this episode. I know a lot of people are very critical of Ethan Peck's Spock. I mean, there's things that I didn't like that he did in this episode, but there were like the best moments of this show and the most Star Trekky moments of the show, or the stuff that dialogue wise I would have to attribute it to Ethan Peck's Spock. So credit where credit's due. And I always felt he was the more dispassionate between him and Zachary Quinto, even though Zachary Quinto looked more like Leonard Nimoy and stuff. But still, that's just my opinion. You guys can disagree with that. So one thing I did like, once again, going back, one thing that Spock says to her that I did like is that I can believe is supported in old Trek. See, I based my judgments on this based on what I know about old Trek and stuff. If it matches, if old Trek supports it. I mean, there's things that they can add and stuff, but as long as it doesn't, complicate or, completely, um, completely, not interfere, but um, basically disagree with what old Trek or good Trek did before and stuff. So um, he tells her that Starfleet people aspire to be in Starfleet. Like this is something that people aspire to be all their lives. It's one of the most difficult things to get into, and I can believe that because working in space is rough. You're in constant danger. You're in a extremely hazardous situation, regardless and stuff. So you have to be on your toes. You have to know what you're doing, and you can't be over. I hate to say this, you can't be over emotional in space either. You have to be on point at all times. You have to be the best of the best of the best and stuff. And that's what I felt, original TNG, DS9, Voyager, and Enterprise managed to do pretty well, was show characters that were really good at their jobs and were very, it was always talking about the mission and stuff. So yeah. So and he says, maybe you should step aside. He's going kind of Commander Shelby on her, saying maybe you should step aside for someone who wants to be in Starfleet and stuff. And that's basically what he tells Uhura. So that's just page 1 of 5 pages of notes that I took. So we get back to Pike in his quarters. It's just Pike and number 1. They're having a quiet discussion. And he talks about his experiences on Boreth and stuff. So it kind of continues that's the one thing that continues from the last episode is Pike's little arc that he's having. He's trying to come to terms with, knowing his future and stuff. But this time we learned that he knows all the names of all the cadets that he's going to save somehow. I haven't watched Discovery season 2 in a while, so I don't even remember how he remembers the names and stuff. He just does. And he can't change it. That's the one thing the Klingon crystal monk, the Klingork monks, told him. So number one tries to, be supportive and say, hey, I would not succumb to my fate. Your fate isn't written. Think of it that way. Who knows? And I like that and stuff. So we're on the bridge, and we go back to talking about the comet and the planet and stuff. So the comet's going to strike the planet in 2 days. They have projections. They show it on the screen, and it's going to kill all the indigenous people on the planet. And the way they show the comet, it collides with it, and the planet explodes like a Death Star, like in a Death Star attack. I don't think it does that quite, but who knows? Who knows at this point? But it was like here like I said earlier, the indigenous aliens are pre-warp, so they're called the Deleb, and they're in danger and stuff. So the mission for this episode, once again, is to figure out how to move that comet to save these aliens and stuff, to save the planet. So they have a course of action. They decide, hey, we're going to shoot a couple of torpedoes, kind of knock it off course a little bit. Well, they shoot the torpedoes. And the weird thing is, this comet sets up an energy field and sucks in the torpedoes, sucks in the energy from the torpedoes. And what the heck? Comets don't have. How do comets have shields and shield stuff and stuff? So, and that's how the episode. This was 10 minutes into the episode, 12 minutes into the episode, and that's how we get into the opening credits. So hey. So we get to see a nice little, another Star Trek. It looks like a JJ Trek opening and stuff. So I want to say hello to Nuff Said and Zan Zoltan, a member. So what's up, gentlemen? How you guys doing? And Captain Fandom Nerd's here too. Go watch Enterprise, far better than modern Trek. Yes, I totally agree. It ended with just Voyager, never saw Enterprise. Seasons 3 and 4 of Enterprise are really good. So seasons 1 and 2 weren't bad either and stuff. Just skip the opening. It's been a long road. That thing, that song. Hated that. So welcome. Happy to see you guys. So we're on Act 2. Act 2, they're in the briefing room, and they say, hey, there's no sign of life, but there is a subterranean structure on this planet and stuff. It's like there's like a building underneath the comet and stuff. And they're thinking, wow, there must be alien intelligence involved then. So they have Sam Kirk in the meeting. Remember Sam Kirk? That's James T. Kirk's older brother. The one that they mention in What Are Little Girls Made Of, TOS, and the one that dies in Operation Annihilate. Right at the very end of season 1. The very end of season 1, and then of course George Kirk is played by William Shatner, and only this time he has a mustache and a little bit more gray and stuff. So yeah, same George Kirk and stuff. And of course they think, is it a derelict spacecraft? Can they beam down? Well, apparently they can, because the shields, those shields on that comet, I keep saying asteroid comet, so it basically means the same thing. The comet's shields only go up when it's under a direct threat and stuff. So when they shoot phasers or something, then the shields will go up and stuff. So the people that the party that's supposed to beam down is basically Lon, everybody's favorite character from the last episode. I'll just say this, she gets less and less likable in this episode too. So Lon, Lon Noonien Singh, Lon and Spock and Kirk, Sam Kirk, and Uhura. And Uhura's like, I've never been on a mission before. I shouldn't be here. And they're like, well, you wanted to learn about alien languages, so this is your chance to learn and stuff. And she's like, I don't want to go and stuff. Well, Spock's like, you have to go. You're assigned. You're going. So we see slow motion of them walking to. They're all suited up and they're walking to the They're walking to the transporter room, and they repeat a JJ Trek trope where, they have Nurse Chapel. She's basically giving them, there's basically all this cosmic radiation on the surface of the comet and stuff. So she gives them like an injection in the neck, and we don't know what it is. She just gives them an injection. It's like, if you don't come back in 2 hours, everything in your insides is going to be liquid and stuff. And then she flirts with Spock. She says some flirtatious thing to Spock, which was, to me, kind of out of character for Chapel. Chapel was always, kind of awkward around Spock, wanted to be nice to Spock, talk to him. She only did that when she was under the frickin' Psi 2000 influence, or she kind of acted all flirty and stuff. So I don't know. This Chapel's good looking. She's hot, but she is she's not my favorite character. She's not my favorite character in this show. But she didn't really, she wasn't insufferable. She wasn't like, she's not insufferable, at least. She's just annoying. She's different. Lon is insufferable. Chapel is just kind of, she's annoying. She's almost that ditzy trope that, you have Agnes and Tilly kind of fill. I mean, maybe, I think so. Who knows? But yeah, so here they get suited up and they get beamed down. And oh yeah, before that, she injects Uhura with the stuff on the neck, and she's like, ow. And I was like, why did they? One thing in Trek is they always held their composure, regardless of whether they got an injection or not. They always held their composure. They were always calm. The captains were always, stoic, And once again, the crew did not speak out of turn at every possible opportunity and stuff. And if they did, they got in trouble. They got reprimanded by, do you think Sisko or Picard or Kirk or Janeway or even Archer would put up with that? And I'm talking about old Kirk. It's not really until JJ Trek where this thing became a thing, especially in Star Trek Into Darkness and stuff, when Uhura kind of shushed Kirk when they were on a mission on Kronos, if you remember that. So, yeah, that stuff gets really annoying after a while because it just doesn't match with what came before, with the 735 episodes of classic Star Trek that came before, and that includes the 10 movies too. So that's why I say 735. That's what I mean. So they beam. Okay, so they beam down, and let's just say, they say, Lieutenant Kyle, beam down. Oh, by the way, Kyle is Asian now. He's no longer a blonde British chap that was played by, John Winston back in the 60s. Now he's Asian for some reason. Just had to remind everybody that. So if to be honest, I think I'll be safe. This takes place in a totally different universe and stuff. Not the same universe as Kelvin, but definitely not the same as, the classic universe and stuff. So that's my opinion. So they materialize on the comet, and it's a very dark, area and stuff. And they go into this structure that looks like something out of like a fantasy type of game, or some really wacky science fiction, weird alien, structure and stuff. And they go into this giant room, and then there's this giant looking egg thing that's kind of like just sitting in the middle of the room. And George Kirk just basically goes up to it and touches it. And Spock's like, hey, you got to get back. This thing is building up energy. And then it shoots him and knocks him onto the ground, like several feet away, and his heart stops. So they're trying to get him. They're trying to beam aboard. The shields are back up on the Comet, so the Enterprise cannot beam him up. And Spock has to defibrillate Kirk in order to save his life, and he does. But the thing is, the defibrillation is, a temporary, fix for Kirk. He has to get back to sick bay to be treated. And by the way, there was no Dr. Mbenga in this episode. We did not see him at all, interestingly enough. So we just saw Chapel as the medical. We just saw her as the medical representative in this episode. So Uhura and Spock take a look at the sphere and the marking. So everything is lit up now, and yeah. So yeah. I'm trying to see this. So I already said they defibrillate them. So that's how the Act 2 ends. So we're now in Act 3, And Spock basically suggests that the answer is in the markings and how they can get out of there. So Uhura is the key to their escape. It's up to her to be able to translate what's on this what's on the egg and stuff. There's markings on the egg and stuff. And of course, we get another scene where the alien girl sees the comet in the sky and they get kind of worried. That was a very quick little scene right there. And then Pike asks for options and stuff. And Ortega suggests phaser harmonic to set the phaser harmonics at a higher frequency that can cause resonance. And then number one chimes in and says, if you're at the right frequency, you can shatter the shields and stuff. So they try to do it. Pike just says, "Oh, that's a good plan. That's a great plan and stuff." I'm like, do you think did Picard ever say that? You know what Picard would say? Make it so, or do it, and stuff. That's it. Jeez, come on, Anson Mount. Come on, act more like a captain. I'm sorry, but I know everybody loves Anson Mount. He looks Pike. That I totally agree with, but he doesn't act like a captain. He acts like a friend. He acts more like a friend than a captain to these crew and stuff. I don't know if anyone else noticed this, but that's how I saw this particular episode and stuff. So he says great plan and stuff, and then of course we go back to Uhura and Spock, and they're talking, and Uhura feels pressure from obviously the inexperience, and of course she decides, oh, tease Spock, because classic Uhura did that, She teases Spock, talking about how Chapel's his girlfriend and stuff, and she flirted with him. And she says, talk. And she basically says, talking and joking breaks attention. Sometimes you gotta laugh. Remember that? Sometimes you gotta laugh. So we're back on the Enterprise. We're back on the bridge. They lock the phasers on the Comet, and they're about to open fire. But all of a sudden, a ship just comes out of the woodwork. We don't see it. We just see that the Enterprise shaking, and all of a sudden, this other ship is there, much bigger, like a lot bigger. And the ship is run by aliens called the Shepherds. They don't have a name. They just call themselves the Shepherds. And the Shepherds are there. I mean, were they there before? Were they hiding? I don't know. This episode does not state it. So these Shepherds are basically blue CGI aliens with cone foreheads, beards, and big ugly CGI eyes and stuff. In other words, typical. So we find out that the Shepherds are there to escort Manit. Manit is the name of the comet. And they say that this is not an ordinary comet, that it's actually an arbiter. It's one of the many arbiters of life. What does that mean? Well, we'll find out. And they're like, hey, if you tamper, they warn the Enterprise, like, if you tamper with this, if you touch this, if you do anything, mess with its course and stuff, we're going to destroy you and stuff. And Pike tries to appeal to them, saying, hey, we respect what you're doing and stuff. We respect what you're doing, but at the same time, there's people on this planet that are going to die if this planet collides. And they're like, if it collides with the planet, then it collides with the planet. It's the will of Manit and stuff. So hey, it's I guess it's fine. I guess so. They closed off communications, and they're like, and Pike's like, what do we do? What do we do? And they're like, well, it's a good thing that they don't know that there are people on the planet. And then they call them again they hail them again, and they're like, well, your people your people are desecrating the surface of Manit. And of course, this is the first of many spoken out of turn times that Lieutenant Ortega's pulls. She's like, oh no, she's like, right after they say that, she's like, oh no, they know about the landing party. Oh, I'm like, shut up. I'm just like, shut up. And of course, when they're not looking, Pike calls them zealots and stuff. Pike calls them zealots and stuff and whatever. He still tries to defuse the situation, and well, it fails and stuff, and they're like they're basically, and the shepherds are like, if you attempted a rescue, that will be that will be considered an act of war and stuff. And then they cut off transmission. So we're back on the planet, and Lon asks for an update from Spock about Kirk, and he says, Kirk is stable, but not for long and stuff. And then she asks Uhura, "Are you gonna get us out of here? Or are you gonna get us all killed and stuff?" And I'm just like, Lon, shut up. She's the one that's in charge of she's higher ranked than Spock. How are you even at this rank if you talk like this? How are you in Starfleet if you act like this? Seriously. I mean, come on, act the part. You're supposed to encourage, you're supposed to inspire confidence, not, whatever. You're supposed to inspire confidence in a cadet. And it's not very Starfleet to do otherwise, in my opinion. So, luckily, it doesn't detract Uhura. Uhura is humming because that's her way of coping with being in a situation and stuff, in a dangerous situation. This is one of her earliest situations and stuff. And Spock tries to give her a pep talk. He tries to give her a pep talk about doing good and stuff, and she once again speaks out of turn. She's a cadet and he's a lieutenant, and she's speaking once again. She speaks out of turn and says, "Oh, you're not doing it. You didn't do a good job giving me a pep. Is that a pep talk? You didn't do a good job." And Spock is just like, "Oh, sorry." He's your superior. Don't talk to him like that. Seriously. And of course, Uhura once again says, "I don't want to be here." And she's like, "I'm not supposed to be here." And Spock's like, "I understand, but sometimes facing your own mortality gives you a unique perspective on stuff, and it could be a good thing and stuff. And I ask that you see the job through." And she's like, "Oh, that's a better pep talk." I'm like, "Just shut up and just listen." I'm like, stop talking out of turn. I don't get why these writers. I mean, obviously the writers never been in the military. I've never been in the military, and they've never watched classic Star Trek, in my opinion. The fact that they can't even get the dialogue correct is annoying. So her once again gives her opinion, saying it's a better pep talk. All right, I already said that. Now the cave is. We find out that the cave is reacting to Uhura's humming. So apparently the comet or Manit responds to music. That's what the markings represent. So we're back on the ship. Number one is picking up a signal from Manit, and they hear Uhura's humming. And then, of course, the code is harmonics. The code is a major chord. C. If you ever play music and stuff, a major chord is usually a more positive, optimistic, uplifting sounding chord and stuff. Something like that. So so it's a major chord that the Manit responds to, and the place lights up and the egg opens up, and Uhura tries to ask both Lon and Spock to help set up a harmonics to hum and to support her, and Lon's like, no, I will not sing, I will break the thing. I'm like I'm like, this character's not likable. So Spock ends up being the one to sing, and of course, Spock is musician and stuff. Nimoy was a musician, so he played when he could. He played the Vulcan harp. So Spock was singing, lower pitch, obviously, because of Ethan Peck, but still. So they're both singing, and of course, they're like, okay, how do we convince it to lower its shields? So Uhura just hums a random chord and stuff, and the shields go down. Good job, magic, one chance, and they did it. That's how brilliant they are and stuff. I'm just like, okay, whatever. I guess they need to keep the episode going. So, let's see. I barely remember. I just watched this like just a few minutes ago, and I don't even remember the details and stuff. It's a good thing I wrote all this down. Uh, so the shepherds called the Enterprise again, and they state that you were warned not to interfere. You were warned. So Pike, Pike makes a face. He's like, I don't know. And Ortega speaks, and once again, Ortega speaks out of turn again. She's like, I think that went well. And I'm just like, shut up. And then of course they get fired on, and they get fired on by torpedoes. And that's the end of Act 3 and stuff. So I think I got one more act to take care of. Yeah, one more act. So roughly less than 2 pages of notes left. Um, so Act 4 is there's a ship to ship battle and stuff. And this is kind of, I'll be honest with this show, I did not like the way the Enterprise looked. To be honest, the outside, the sets looked fine and stuff. I felt that the bridge though was kind of out of, the bridge was kind of laid out wrong. I feel like the the helms, the table where the helmsman and the navigator sit should be directly, in front of the turbo lift, and not kind of off to the side like they showed in this episode. So that was an issue. That's a nitpick that I had. I'm not a big fan of the way they make the Enterprise look in the show. The Enterprise is too dark and stuff. To me, the Enterprise was always bright, despite the nature of space and stuff. But I want to see the Enterprise. I want to see it shine in its glory and stuff. Like this way it looked in motion picture, the way it looked in the original series, the way all the ships looked and stuff, the way the Orville looks in the Orville. You know, heck, even the JJ movies, the Enterprise looks better and stuff. I don't. Discovery season 2, the Enterprise looked better, looked brighter than what they show it in this. I don't know why it's so dark and stuff, and the outside does not look the best, in my opinion. So it's a pet peeve of mine. It's not it's just a pet peeve of mine. So they have a ship to ship battle, and we get to see evasive maneuvers. Now, not to the level of like the Orville and stuff, but hey, it was cool to see them seeing both ships in the view, in the frame, and dodging torpedoes and stuff. That actually looked pretty good. Um, so credit where credit's due. Um, there's evasive maneuvers, and then there's a decent shot, yeah, like I said, showing them warp, showing them evade. So Lon, being always right, suggests, hey, we should warp out and regroup. And of course number one agrees. They are clearly outmatched. So back on the planet, Uhura tries to figure out a means to translate what the Comet was saying. And well, not actually, no, sorry, they got beamed out. So yeah, they got beamed down and stuff. So at least I think they did. Yeah, they get beamed up. So yeah, so Spock and the rest of them got beamed up from the thing. So yeah, so Spock is already on the bridge. Uhura's also on the bridge, and they're like, we have to figure out a means to translate what the Comet was saying. And Spock reminds her she only has an hour before it hits Persephone 3. And once again, this was the most annoying speaking out of turn moment that was had. She literally says, "You do a lot of reminding people of deadlines, sir." And Pike's like, "Oh," Pike, responds like, an idiot. He's like, "She's got a point." And I just rolled my effing eyes when I heard that. I was like, "Really?" I'm like, "What is this crap?" And of course, Pike wants to Pike wants to target their weapons and propulsion. Ortega says Ortega won't stop. Ortega once again doesn't stop speaking out of turn, and she says, "I wish they felt the same." And let's just say they fire a direct hit, and they buy themselves some time, like maybe less than a minute. So Spock asks, "What if the comet moved itself?" Ooh. And then the scene shifts, and they're about to enact a plan. So we don't know what the plan is exactly. So they plan to fly. We know that they're planning to fly close. And Pike tells Ortegas he used to brag about her being the best pilot at the academy. He goes up to her and just says that to her, and she's like, "Your point, sir." And he's like, "Well, it's time for you to prove it." And stuff. So they do another evasive pattern. This time it's evasive pattern Ortegas, and they basically, fly. They flip around. And then they get pursued by the shepherds. They go into that. They fly into an asteroid field towards the large comet, kind of like your Empire Strikes Back. And of course, the ship gets hit by some weapons. Especially, it gets hit on the I think the right nacelle gets hit a couple of times, and they basically, once they get close enough to the comet, they come about, and they shut down all the systems except for life support. And then Pike calls the shepherds like, "Hey, we surrender." And they're like, "What if we don't accept your surrender?" And they're like, "Well, if you don't accept our surrender, then we're going to just drift, and we're going to, if you even destroy us here, our debris is going to hit the comet, and it's going to cause it's going to touch the it's going to cause and touch and desecrate your comet and stuff." So the shepherds decide, "Oh, okay." They use a tractor beam and pull them out and stuff. So as they're being pulled out, Spock was not on the bridge. Spock was on a shuttlecraft hiding under another asteroid. He kind of goes into a little mission on his own where he's dodging asteroids in the shuttlecraft. And then he gets close enough. He has like these heat shields on or something. He gets close enough, and he starts just flying right next to it, causing like sublimation on the surface of the asteroid, and that basically causes the asteroid to kind of move out of direction and stuff. I don't know how that worked. It didn't make any sense to me, but hey, that's how they chose it and stuff. And of course, Spock calls the bridge from the shuttle, and he just laughs, and he says, "Ha, ha, ha." And he's like, "Things go so badly, you gotta laugh sometimes," repeating what was said in the beginning of the episode. I'm like, nothing went bad though. What are you laughing about? What is this? It felt contrived. Let's just say that. So basically, because of what Spock did, Persephone 3, the planet, gets a lot of water vapor transferred from the comet to that planet's atmosphere. Now, like I said earlier, the planet was mostly arid, so there wasn't a whole lot of water. People were barely surviving on what they could. But with the water vapor, the place starts to rain quite a bit, and they say, "Oh, because of the water vapor, it's going to give more life to the planet. There's going to be more green. There's going to be more of this and stuff." Hence, the arbiter of life aspect is kind of paid off and stuff. Who knows? I mean, but looked like the people were happy. They're like, "Oh," they're in the rain. They're like, "Oh," like this and stuff. So, I mean, it was a little uplifting. I won't give them that. I'll give them some, benefit of the doubt and stuff. And of course, the captain's log is, Pike's like asking, "Who made the comet? What was this? What's the point of this? Is there more to this than what we see?" And they're in the briefing room, and Uhura basically determines what makes the comet. Uhura determines what makes the comet, go, and they were able to determine the course of the comet, and that Spock's mission was foretold by the comet. So the comet knew that Spock was going to do what it was going to do, and they had never intended to collide with the planet and stuff. And of course, oh, by the way, sorry, I forgot about the shepherds. So after the whole water vapor thing happens, the shepherds are like, "Hey," the shepherds are like, "Hey, we have witnessed a miraculous event, and Pike, shame on you for questioning or judging the faith of others and stuff." And Pike's like, "Oh, sorry." And then they go about their way. Like, "We're not at war. We can go in peace now." And I was like, okay, whatever. So, so Spock, going back to the briefing room, Uhura basically said Spock's mission was foretold by the comet and stuff. So the comet knew it was going to not hit the planet because it foretold that Spock was going to do his mission and cause it to not hit anything. I don't know. It was taking notes for this was a lot of fun. So Spock gives a final talk to Uhura and he commends her actions. And it was a nice little scene right there. And he commends her actions on a Comet and tells her that Starfleet would be fortunate enough to have her and stuff. That's a good thing. That's a good thing to hear from a superior and stuff. And she didn't speak out of turn this time. Thank you. And of course, Pike and Number One continue their discussion of his fate that he learned on Boreth. And she once again tells him not to throw his life away and that he might not have to make a difficult choice. He can make. She's saying there's a possibility that he can rescue the cadets and be able to come out unscathed. I mean, she literally says your fate. She's like, what if your fate is what you make it and stuff? That your fate is not written, So he's thinking about it, and then he goes and he looks into the he looks at the files of the cadets he's going to save in the future, and all those cadets are at this point in time 9 to 10 years old. That's how this episode ends and stuff. So ultimately this episode, I mean, it was episodic. It did not really follow it wasn't serialized. It didn't follow the last episode except for maybe Pike's issue and stuff. George Kirk barely had a role. He just was, he just got hit by a beam because he was a dumb dude that didn't listen to Spock. And we didn't see Dr. M'Benga because I guess he didn't need to be in the episode. Even though I think for a mission like that, they should have brought a doctor down. They didn't even bring Chapel down. They didn't bring anybody down. Spock basically was the medical officer in that episode for some reason, even though he has no medical, I mean, he must have some know-how, but not a lot. Usually, so that's a strange thing. And Lon is more unlikable in this episode. We didn't get to hear more of her story, thankfully. She wasn't as involved, but when she was once again unlikable. Chapel was, I don't dislike Chapel. I think she's annoying, but that's beside the point. She's just like a wacky character. She's nothing like Major Barrett's Chapel and stuff. And Pike needs to really step up and act like a captain. He needs to act a little bit more like a captain. Even Jeffrey Hunter's Pike was acted more like a captain. He's got to be nothing less than perfect, and he cannot react. He's got to be stoic. He's got to inspire confidence in the crew, and you cannot have people under you speaking out of turn like that. It just doesn't make any sense. So that's basically what my takeaway is. So let's read what everyone's saying in the chat. So welcome. I know Anti-Derivative Jill is here. Leia Rose is here. I already said hello to Enough Said. Zan Zoltan, and of course Captain Fandom Nerd. So yeah, he says, yeah, what's up? Enough Said says, what's up? And Enough Said says, still getting used to seeing the man himself. LOL, yeah. Need to trim down my weight and stuff so I look good like all the other YouTubers. Enough Said says, rest in peace, Trek. It ended with Voyager. Enterprise, like, I agree. Enterprise was actually Enterprise is really good. It's a show that's definitely worth watching. It gets better. Unlike these newer shows, you can rewatch Enterprise and still enjoy it. And as you go through the show, the seasons get better. So it was a huge shame that Enterprise got canceled and stuff. So, because I think Enterprise would have led into the Earth Romulan War, and I think it would have had a similar thing to DS9, where end of season 5 would have been it would have been built up to the Earth Romulan War. And then it would have ended season 6, and then of course it would build up to the founding of the Federation and stuff. So I don't know. So Zan Zoltan says, I would not give them the prize of calling this show Star Trek. Captain Fan Nerd says, go watch Enterprise, formerly Captain Trek, of course. Far better than modern Trek. Nuffsed says it's like a shock that Picard's old man's tales or space transmitted diseases. I don't know what that is. Let's see. The song was one of the things that put me off. LOL. Yeah. It sounds like it's the crap in uni. LOL. Let's see. You can tell how bad this is. You took notes instead of being invested in the episode. Well, I take notes for I take notes for Better Call Saul too because I can't remember everything off the top of my head. I'll just be like and then I'm just gonna sound annoying. Captain Fanner says this Uhura speaks 37 languages because it was easy for her. Are they confusing her for Hoshi? That might be an anti-derivative Jill. They admit they don't know how to interpret the musical language, so definitely magic. If anti-derivative Jill says so. And everyone on the landing party is like Uhura. You're the only one who is worth anything. We are useless. Please save us. Not verbatim, but that's the feel. Yeah, it doesn't inspire. It doesn't inspire a lot of confidence. Like seriously, magic, the greatest sci-fi. All have that. LOL. Sci-fi fantasy has that to the max. Science fiction has that at the minimum. So New Trek is still science fantasy. Yeah, we definitely can see that. Ortega's flight parents look a lot like Gordon's from the Orville. So yeah, it did. It did. So yeah, it did look good. Like they said, they're trying to copy the Orville. I mean, just the idea. I mean, the reason why I'm doing my straight Day the Earth Stood Still stream is because I saw that in last week's episode, and I'd be like, you know what, I want to talk about that movie now and stuff. So now the question is, I said this last week. Robert Wise directed The Day the Earth Stood Still. So does that mean Star Trek: The Motion Picture is a movie in this Strange New World show? I hope it is. It'd be hilarious and terrible. Okay, so I said that. Hail, hail, hail. That's the worst part of the new Drek. They don't respect it at all the line of command. Yep. They didn't explain any of it, so they could get away with it, even though it would have been easy to explain some thermodynamics and kinetics to make it work. But this show has no science consultants. Yeah, because Andre Bormanis is working on the Orville. Anti-derivative Jill, so more magic, even when they could have made it real. How lazy as F this is. Yep. Did he mention earlier how Captain Pike quoted Scotty for no reason? That was pathetic. I know anyone could say that, but you know what they were doing. What did he Pike quoted Scotty? What did he say? I don't even remember. Leoro says, hey, Nerdporio. Anti-derivative Jill says, because the comet creature is now the guardian forever. I have posed. I've all this time I have awaited a question. At the Nerdporio Elephant, did they just rip off Terminator? There is no fate but what we make. I don't know. They're ripping off Harlan Ellison probably. Let's see. What else is there? Just in terms of its ability to know the future, yeah. Let's see. Didn't James Kirk and Nurse Chapel get together? They went on a mission together, and what are little girls made of? Anti-derivative Jill. So more magic. And yes, I'm admitting the Guardian is magic just to show I am balanced, but the Guardian's magic was just a catalyst for a real sci-fi tale. Yep, that's right. Great review. Well, I missed the first half, but it was good. It wasn't fun. And lovely Sherry, hello, how are you? Thanks for coming by. I already got through the stream. I just kind of ran through it and stuff. I'm not going to spend that much more time on this. The tad that shouldn't be. Enterprise was fine until Similitude, and then it was dead to me. Similitude. Which episode was that? I'll have to look that one up. Seasons 3 and 4, I really liked of Enterprise. Hello. I have watched it many times because of Captain Archer and the Engineer Trip. Of course. The very good Nerdporio. She's hello, hey. Orville is the best I have seen so far. Yep. And of course, Anti-Derivative Jill says he said something like, "Do whatever you can, even if you have to break the laws of physics." Yeah, I didn't even bother writing that one down. But yeah, you're right. He did say that. Okay, that's okay. I cannot change the laws of physics. I've got to have 13 minutes. Yeah, that was Scotty. You're watching SNW. Why do you hate yourself? uh and stay nerdy, my man. See you soon, mate. We'll see you. Thanks for coming by. This was I'm gonna watch this up to episode 5. The episode's called Spock and Mock and stuff. And then I'm probably gonna switch it over to the Orville because by then the Orville will be out, and that's gonna be my Thursday stream and stuff. I'm gonna probably do Orville streams in the evening and stuff. Strange New Worlds I'm gonna do during the day because it's dropped on Amazon's Paramount Plus like early in the morning, so I can just watch it in the morning and then right away do a stream on it. And plus tonight I'm doing my Day of the Earth Stood Still stream with Loki, so that's gonna be the thing. So so Tad That Shouldn't Be says Similitude was the episode where they thought it was perfectly fine to make a fully sapient clone of Trip and then intended to execute him to harvest his organs. I don't remember that one. It's been a while since I watched Enterprise. I was going to give Strange New Worlds a shot until I found that it messed with canon and had that political BS in it. Yeah, that's sounds about. Well, I mean, Star Trek was political to a degree, or it was allegorical. It was allegorical. It had messages still, but the messages were generally positive, and the story always came first and stuff. I mean, what was the message of the Devil in the Dark? Just because creature murders a bunch of people, you know, creature murders a bunch of people. Does that mean it was? Does that mean it? Did it have a? The question is, did it have a reason to kill all those people and stuff? I say stuff. I gotta stop saying that. Well, not really. I mean, let's just say it was a ballsy move for the like Spock mind melts with the creature with the Horta and comes to understand that the Horta is simply killing the men because she's trying to defend her eggs that they've been destroying, unknowingly destroying. They didn't know they were eggs. They thought they were just simple, very perfectly round painted soccer balls found in the caves of Giannis 6. And hence they would just take them and move them out of the way and probably get rid of them, destroy them, dispose of them. And that's why the Horta did what she did. She did that to defend herself. And there's a similar reason with the Gorn and stuff, even though the Gorn murdered a whole base and stuff. I gotta stop saying that. The Gorn murdered a whole base, Cestus 3. Kirk goes after them. The Metrons stop them from fighting, force them to come to terms on a planetoid. Of course, Kirk and the Gorn captain, we don't know his name, fight, and that everyone's seen Arena, the iconic fight between the Gorn and Kirk, which is reprised in a commercial for the Star Trek 2013 game that came out right before Into Darkness. I thought that was a hilarious commercial, by the way. But the same idea. The Gorn, Kirk came to the idea that the Gorns were simply defending themselves. Hence why he spared the life of the Gorn captain despite the destruction and the mayhem on Cestus 3. So, I mean, life, it basically teaches that, you do not be quick to, judge and, excuse me, not to judge and be willing to kill. Because once you take a life, that's it for that person. You've taken away countless possibilities, and you've hurt the people person that this person is, involved with, the people that are in that person's life. So there's a lot to do in that. Hence why, the idea of losing your soul when you commit such a foul thing. And I'll be honest, this episode, nobody got murdered. I mean, there was a little bit of a space battle. It looked pretty decent. I just don't like the way the Enterprise looks. I don't like why they make it look so dark and stuff. It doesn't look that good. I think they should have just kept the design of the Discovery Enterprise. That looked way better, in my opinion. So that's that's basically. I mean, this new stuff is just it's just not it's just not it's just it's I'm watching it and I'm just like I want to enjoy it. I want to enjoy this, and it just doesn't click. It just doesn't click and stuff. The characters you need to, in order to get into a show, you need to be able to build investment in the characters and stuff. And the issue with this show is they're reusing characters from TOS, and they're introducing new characters like this Lon character is just not only does the character's presence not make any sense at all, but she's insufferable. She's basically she's taken the insufferable female character trope that New Trek has kind of started. New Trek has its own tropes now and stuff. They're trying to be their own thing. I haven't watched I haven't watched I've only seen the first episode of Lower Decks, and I've only seen the first episode of Prodigy and stuff. People say Prodigy is actually pretty good and stuff, so I'll have to check it out. Prodigy is very even though there's Voyager connections of Voyager with Janeway and Chakotay, and you see Kazon in the series. It looks very Clone Wars though, and it doesn't look like Star Trek because you see droids, and it just doesn't look like Star Trek. It looks like it looks like a Clone Wars and stuff. So I'll probably watch it since I have the Paramount Plus for a month. I'll give it a shot. And I'll probably watch more of Lower Decks and stuff. And you know, I'm not gonna review them, but I might mention them in subsequent Strange New World streams and stuff. So before I go, before I say anything further, I have to acknowledge a super chat by Sadukar 7th Legion. Hello to you. Hail from Scotland. Hail to you from Scotland. Thank you so much for the €5. She says, can't watch, not seen it yet. Keep safe, big man. Thank you and stuff. Thank you and stuff. Thank you. Don't say and stuff. I have bad speech habits. That I've been called out for, and I gotta kind of try to improve. So, like I say a lot of conjunctions. Anono Moss is here. What's up? Anti-Derivative Jill says, Strange New Worlds is a shadow of Trek, like it's written by a kid who was told was what Star Trek should be, but didn't even watch it. Yeah, that is something that I can definitely see. So, thank you. That was very well said. I agree. Sadakar, I totally agree with that. And Anti-Derivative Jill also says, so I watched a couple of Prodigy episodes. It's the only new Trek that doesn't disrespect the past, oddly. Not saying it's any good. So does Lower Decks kind of disrespect the past. I know that the main character was a Mariner. She's kind of insufferable herself. She picks on Boimler, who is Jack Quaid's character. Boimler wants to be a Starfleet captain, and he pretends to do a captain's log, and he gets made fun of for it. And I think, what was it? Everybody turned into zombies in the first episode, and they're ripping out hearts. And then there's a cat doctor who kind of reminded me of McCoy and Pulaski, very grouchy and grumpy and stuff. And the commander, there was the commander and the chief of security are like dude bros. They're like, hey, dude, we're gonna get a beer, man. And of course, the captain is Mariner. The captain of the ship is Mariner's mother. The ship doesn't look bad though in the show, and so it's an animated show. The ship actually doesn't look bad. I forget when it takes place. I think it takes place after Nemesis, but obviously before Picard and stuff. Picard. And then I've heard there's a moment where I don't know, it was a Boimler goes completely spread eagle naked and stuff, and I'm just like, I heard about that. I saw the picture. I was like, what? Like, really? I mean, I know this is supposed to be like a comedy, but if you're going to do comedy for Trek, you still have to have the, characters act like Starfleet officers. They just have to be put in funny situations where they're still competent, but they're just in they're strangers and we're in a strange land stuff. Star Trek 4 worked that way. Heck. And of course, I mean, they've used, characters like Worf and Data as jokes at points in TNG, but hey, I still felt it was consistent with their characters and stuff. DS9 with Odo and Quark, and of course all the funny stuff that Garrick says, because he's so morally ambiguous. That just it's humor like that makes those older shows epic and timeless. So, uh, but I still love old Trek. I did my Trek tutorial on Garrick with my friend Gary, and it was basically it was a stream that was just waiting to happen and stuff, because I've driven him home from hanging out with our other friend Brian, and we would just talk about deep space. We would talk about Star Trek, because he was one of the first friends that I had that was already a fan and seen all the shows, and he was a fan longer than I had. He was a fan much longer than I was, and he was a big Deep Space Nine fan. So we always talked about the Garrick episodes. We talked about the Dominion. We always talked about Die is Cast and Improbable Cause. We always quoted Odo saying, "You blew up your own shop, Garrick." It was always fun to do it. So I figured I wanted him for Trekporial. Not Trekporial, Trekporial. So I saw I love Babylon 5. I mean, you see in my background right here, you see my background, there's Deep Space Nine, and right under that you can barely see it, but it's Babylon 5 too. So I'm a big fan of that show too. I feel like only difference is I feel Babylon 5 probably should have they should have included a resolution to the Psychor story arc, resolution to Bester's arc and stuff, which I feel like they didn't do. Bester, Walter Bester is obviously, to me, is Walter Koenig's probably best acting role, because that's the only other thing I know him from besides playing Chekhov, and he barely did anything as Chekhov. I mean, his besides screaming all the time, his big role was in Wrath of Khan, where he was the one that encountered Khan, even though he never meets Khan in Space Seed, but he still. I mean, the show. It was a continuity. It was an issue of continuity that they kind of had to fix after the fact. So apparently Chekhov was on the ship, but he wasn't on the bridge. He was an ensign in another department. So, and Khan knew everyone on the ship. He knew the crew. He read all the technical manuals. He probably read all the personnel files. He knew what everyone was capable of, and he probably even had a moment with Khan. I heard maybe Chekhov was one of the officers that escorted him to the transporter room for the exile. I think they missed out on making that Khan series. I don't know who would have played Khan. The Khan series that Robert Meyer Burnett, kind of mentioned the scripts. The one that Nicholas Meyer was developing and stuff, where SETI Alpha 6 had a race of people on that planet, and the people from SETI Alpha 6 were trying to relocate to SETI Alpha 5, and there was a little bit I don't know if it was a war, but there was like maybe a conflict between that race, and there was supposed to be like a more angelic type of race or something. I don't remember. And of course, them versus Khan's people. I'd have to rewatch his stream to get more details on it, but it was an interesting idea and stuff. And of course, we see how Marla McGivers, dies. The wife of Khan. She gets hit in the ear by one of those creatures. I think that was in the book, To Reign in Hell, which I still have yet to read. I own it. I just haven't read it yet. So I heard it's actually a really good book. So. But yeah, those. But that would have been an interesting thing to see. It's too bad they it's like they discarded Nicholas Meyer. Nicholas Meyer was responsible for two of my favorite Star Trek movies of all time: Wrath of Khan and Undiscovered Country. And it's kind of like the way with Rings of Power, Lord of the Rings, the way Payne, McKay and Payne kind of discarded Tom Shippey and stuff. Same idea. It's just like, I'm not, everything I've heard about Rings of Power, I get less and less interested by the day. I wanted to cover it, but I'd rather cover House of the Dragon despite Game of Thrones season 8 and stuff. Game of Thrones season 8's, ultimate failure and stuff. The fact that it didn't pay off what they were setting up. That's my biggest issue with season 8. They were setting up all the kingdoms to come together to fight an existential threat, which is, classic type of, storytelling, bringing people together, that type of, theme. That's something we need to see every once in a while. It's a human thing of it, where there's always going to be conflict amongst us. So having something supernatural or, extraordinary to bring us together would have been a very compelling thing to watch. And we didn't see that. And because the fact that the White Walkers didn't go south of Winterfell, it all stayed in the north. So as far as the south was concerned, it's all still mythology and stuff. They never, because they always laughed at, the warnings that the north, were trying to tell them that, hey, the winter is coming, and they would just laugh it off, like, oh, this is just northern superstition. And well, now it's still northern superstition. They didn't experience it for themselves. Cersei did not experience. She only experienced like that single white that came at her and stuff, and that was it. They didn't. King's Landing didn't get to experience the assault of the White Walkers and stuff, and that was a big mistake. And then that final thing that with Daenerys, just I did not like. What was the point of us following her story if she was just going to become the villain and die the way she did? I mean, I was her arc. I know this is a Star Trek stream, but I'm talking about Game of Thrones. Her arc, to me, the way I interpreted it was like a redemption arc for her family, because her family did a lot of terrible things. Her father, the Mad King, did a lot of terrible things, and they got overthrown because of that. And now she would have came back and she would have made things better and stuff, because that's what they were trying to set up. But oh no, the power, to rule Westeros, you have to become evil and stuff. So she became evil, and then Jon Snow killed her. And then what his family heritage, him being the last Targaryen, didn't matter ultimately. Bran became the king. Didn't deserve it. Nothing led up to it. Nothing built up to it. It just happened. So, but yeah, I have. So Sadikar says, I watched Prodigy. First two were promising, but it went very downhill very quickly. Yeah, I'll have to watch it again. Lower Decks is pretty funny as a sci-fi show if you leave Star Trek at the door. Okay, sounds fair. Yes, for some reason, New Trek only hires past Star Trek artists so they can give it the right veneer, but none of the soul or intelligence, so none of the writing. New Trek is just a mishmash of old generic soap operas with some sci-fi in them. Nerporial, what are you feeling on Bad 5 relaunch remake? Well, with the way things are being rebooted now, I'm not cautiously optimistic. I'm cautious. I have no reason to think that it's going to be good. I mean, J. Michael Straczynski might come back, but I don't know if he's past his prime at this point. What he did in the 90s was magical, and I don't think it can be replicated. It's just the style of writing that was great then is just not the same now. Unless you're Seth MacFarlane and you're a huge fan of the old Trek, then and Twilight Zone, then you're going to get classic. You're going to get a classic style 90s series, because Seth MacFarlane is just that big of a fan. And Anti-Derivative Joe says, yep, it's the Day of Our Stars, and it'd make it easier to watch if they just called it that. The Day of Our Stars. The Days of Our Stars. Like comets through a sector, so are the days of our stars. Okay, that sounds terrible. All are welcome, even you, the handsome Zanzoltan. Any relation to the Hound of Dracula? Anti-Derivative Drill says, R&B, those scripts were great. We're being robbed from ever seeing it, but at this point, I'd want to go into the future anyways. I agree. They got to stop with this. Either go into the future or just stop. Put your cam up. Looking up is not great. Look at any streamer. So, okay. I'm already at the point where I don't want anything to do with New Lord of the Rings. The trailer has it all. It's not given anything. It's not given any. It has no intention of giving us Tolkien. Yeah. Anyone watched 10 Rungs? Off topic, just asking. Watched it last night. Was much better than was reviewed. Okay. 10 Rungs. I'll have to check that out. Tolkien had to be dead and then his son for them to seize it. Yeah. I totally agree. Pop Culture Republic's here. Hail all. And then we have Stream Elements says, thanks for subscribing. Casey O'Connor. Well, Casey O'Connor, welcome to the Nerdporial. Continue on. Did you see they are defacing the books now? Oh yeah, I saw that with they're showing the Rings of Power. They're promoting the Rings of Power on the cover on the new issued covers of Fellowship, Two Towers, Return of the King. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I mean I bought versions of the books that promoted the movies and stuff back in the day, back in 2000. So um but people were actually looking forward to the movies though when it came out and stuff. So they did the same thing with the Wheel of Time books. Yeah, that show season 1 I did not see. Besides the Trollocs fighting him fighting the Trollocs in the cabin with his father Tam. I read the first book, so I'm familiar with the BA of the first book. Uh, Other than that, I did not recognize anything that was going on in that show from reading Eye of the World and stuff, and from reading Eye of the World. So I watched a little bit of it and I was like, nah. I mean, it was cool seeing. I love Michael McCalliton, who plays Roose Bolton. He's a great actor. He's a great actor in those types of shows, in period shows, in period shows. So he was great. I liked him as Roose Bolton. He didn't look the way Roose Bolton looks in the books, where Roose Bolton's like a vampire. He's pale. He's got long hair. He's middle aged, but he doesn't look middle aged. And in the second book, Arya was his cupbearer, not Tywin Lannister like she was in the show. But it was a great. I loved the Charles Dance and Maisie Williams having especially Charles Dance having his conversation with Arya in that season. But Arya in the books was cupbearer to Roose Bolton, and she overheard them planning the Red Wedding without the reader directly knowing it was the Red Wedding. We knew that something was going on with Roose and the Freys. There were two of the Freys. I forgot their names. There was, I think it was Hosteen Frey and Aenys, and I think it was Aenys Frey. Those were like the two best commanders of the Frey family. You know, the ones that run the twins. You know, the bridge that separates the northern part of the Riverlands with the southern part of the Riverlands, or the east or west. I forget. The Freys are the ones that betray everybody at the Red Wedding. Well, them and the Boltons. The Boltons supported them, and that's why they did what they did. So, but yeah, that's I love the old Game of Thrones, all Song of Ice and Fire books and stuff. To my shame, I have all Wheel of Time books. I just have a ton to get through. Are they good? Read the first one. The first one was okay. I mean, it had that shouldn't be, Prophet of the Dragon, Salty Texas Sea. All those guys know better than me when it comes to Wheel of Time. They've read them. I'm assuming they get better. I assume they get better, and then they kind of take a dip with Jordan's later novels, and then I believe with Sanderson, how they concluded. Sanderson, I've seen the ratings, and people really liked how Sanderson concluded it. The language might not be exactly the same, but most people were happy with how Sanderson resolved everything. I don't know. So Pop Culture says going back a bit to the Babylon 5 talk. I'm cautious, bordering on cautiously optimistic on it. Last I read on it, JMS was directly involved in the reboot, but it's really no telling how it will turn out. Yes, I can agree. With that. Babylon 5 was J. Michael Straczynski's project, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to. He's not going to bring back the magic that made that old series. He's going to do something different. I mean, people change after 20. It's been almost 3 decades since Babylon 5 came out. So the way people write stuff now and the way shows are handled is different. Shows are shorter now and they're more serialized. And I don't even see why they need to reboot Babylon 5. They don't need to reboot Babylon 5. Babylon 5, just leave it alone. Just leave it alone. It's been too long to make a sequel. Just let it be. You know, like the Beatles say, like Paul McCartney says, let it be. I can't blame most of the cast of Wheel of Time. Some of them are actually trying to act. I suspect the same will be true of some of the actors in the Rings of Power. Also, Anson Mount is a good actor, but he has crap. Yeah, his captain, he's a good actor. He looks like Pike. He just doesn't act like Pike. He doesn't act like a Starfleet captain, in my opinion. He just kind of goes along with the what the junior. He lets the junior officers, speak out of turn. He doesn't act composed, like he was making faces. He acted awkward when he was talking to those shepherds. Kirk and Picard would have been completely. They would have been completely stone faced, and when it came to dealing with someone on the out with an outside threat, you have to be stoic. You have to be nothing short than perfect, nothing less than perfect. And Spock from The Enemy Within tells positive Kirk this. So that's my issue with it. So Sadekar says, I think Bab 5 was amazing then, as it is now, ignoring graphics. Well, I did update them for HBO Max. They don't look bad. If they ever release them on Blu-ray, I buy them right away. If they ever release them on physical media, I buy them right away. I don't believe they should remake, maybe continue, but without the shadows. Yeah, maybe resolve the Psychor. But I mean, Walter Koenig's too old. Walter Koenig's 86 years old now. He's not a young guy anymore, and yeah, a lot of those actors are. Yeah, and the thing is, Babylon 5, a lot of those actors passed away. R.I.P. to like Jerry Doyle, Mara Furlan, Michael O'Hare, uh, Andreas Katsoulis, uh, the guy from Taxi who plays the security guy. I forget his name. I forgot his name. He passed away. Dr. Franklin's actor. Dr. Franklin's actor passed away. He passed away like as early as 2004. So a lot of those actors are not with us anymore. There's very few of them left. I mean, who's left? Sheridan's still with us. Ivanova is still with us. The guy that plays Marcus is still with us. Londo is still with us. Jeff Conway. Yeah, Jeff Conway. Zach. Okay, yeah, Jeff Conway. That was him. Thanks, Pop Culture Republic. But yeah, it's a shame. Now Star Trek. Now the actors in Star Trek have all of TNG. They're still with us. All the cast of TNG are still with us. DS9. The only one that has passed on is the only one that's passed on is Rene Auberjonois. And Nog's actor, who he wasn't a regular, he was a semi-regular. He passed away too. Everyone Voyager is still with us. Enterprise, they're all still with us. So I mean, the actors, Star Trek's been relatively, acting in Star Trek has been relatively good for all the actors. I mean, the earliest, DeForest Kelley lived to be 79 when he passed away back in 99. He was the first of the original cast to go, and Mr. Shatner is 91 years old now, and he's still, he's still kicking. He's still active. And you hear him speak, he sounds much younger than Patrick Stewart, the way Patrick Stewart sounds. Patrick Stewart sounds old like this. So, whereas Shatner's still vibrant, and, he's still active. He still does stuff. He goes to Wrath of Khan screenings. I went to a Wrath of Khan screening to see him. He was hilarious. Everybody laughed. Like nobody, he's not he is a comedian. So, Stephen Furst, Veer. That's right. Stephen Furst passed away. If you don't know Stephen Furst, he plays Flounder in Animal House. Oh boy, is this great! So, yeah. So that's it. So I gotta watch, and I have to take notes. And I did not finish my watch of Day of the Earth Stood Still. So this is a great way to kind of get off the stream and cleanse the palate and stuff. So that's going to be at 7:45. I'm going to be on that. I'm going to be on that show with Loki himself. Stone Loki himself. So come by. If not for me, then come by for him. And everybody, I guess I'm going to still do another episode of Strange New Worlds and stuff. So I'm not going to do the whole season. So at least I don't think I am. The way it's looking now, I'm not. I'm not sure if I want to keep doing it after episode 5 and stuff. I have to see how this Spock's and Mock episode goes. The fact that they named it that is just ridiculous. So, but whether or not, if you're listening and you still like New Trek, then I'm happy for you. I don't. I mean, I know Star Trek. People of various backgrounds like Star Trek for different reasons. I liked it because of I liked it for its consistency. I liked it for its storytelling. I liked it for how its characters acted and stuff. And seeing anything, my judgments of this new show is based on what came before. So that's my only that's how kind of how I see it. So other than that, everybody have a great rest of your day. And thanks again, Static Car 7th Legion, Xylons and Shadows, Battlestar. I have to see the old Battlestar. One of them is dead. I will look it up. It irks me. Yeah, I know. Tim Choate, the guy who plays Zaphras. Oh, yeah, he passed away too. Yeah. Not the one. Not the one. So that was a major storyline. Yep. So other than everybody, may the wings of Nerdporials carry you to tonight's stream, Nerdporial Sci-Fi Chat number 11. Day the Earth Stood Still. Have a good one.